local history, local culture, local events, your community. This is the Joe Kelly Show.
Hi there, everybody. Welcome to the show. Thanks for joining us. We are at the Utica Public Library, and we're going to be talking to the executive director of this library, and that's Chris Sagaas. He's been here since 2017, if I recall correctly.
Yep, very good.
And we're going to talk about the history of this place. We're going to be talking about things that are going on now and what the future looks like. But first, we're going to say thanks for inviting us in, Chris.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
Happy to have you here. I'm glad we're on site.
Yeah, usually we do this in the studio, so it's nice to be in the building because there's a lot to see in the building. Speaking of the building, this dates back to what year?
We laid the cornerstone in 1903 and we opened in 1904, so we're coming up on a significant anniversary. It's been in operation as a library ever since it opened.
You know, you don't think, and I didn't think prior to us talking before the show, about all the work that goes into a building this size. I mean, just keeping this building up.
Yeah, well, it's funny because we came up on the elevator with some of your production team who hadn't been here before, and it's always fun to see people's reaction to the building for the first time. I still have that reaction after 6+ years here. I come in and I'm in awe of it, but you're right, it's a lot of upkeep. We've continued to invest significantly in just making sure that things are in proper working order, like that elevator, although not the oldest in the city, one of the oldest. It requires some TLC.
And I remember back when you did your window project, I think Darby O'Brien was the director then.
Yep, Darby was a director, and she had significant help from Sherry Bollert when he was the representative. He was a huge library supporter, and Darby's stature in the community remains in such high standing. She's following in her footsteps has been, it's a challenge, but she was so great. She did such a great job of setting things in such a way that I didn't have to fix a lot. She was great.
But those windows needed fixing, didn't they, back then? Yeah, all these windows.
Yeah, they did. And we've also improved. The building has 5 natural skylights. One of them is above us here. We've had those sealed and kind of fixed up. We kind of started a top-down approach because now we're doing the room we're sitting in right now. We remodeled within the last year and a half, repainted, sealed the skylights. We have some furniture in here now. It's our boardroom meeting. It's also where we like to encourage local not-for-profits and other businesses to use our space.
You were talking to me about that earlier, about urging people to use this building.
Yeah, so we, certainly the traditional library services, books, DVDs, story time for children, crafts for kids, that type of stuff is really popular. But this morning when we were talking about what was going on in our large gallery space, there's a chair yoga class going on in there. So we're doing things like that now. We have 3 different yoga instructors at 3 different times a day each week. We're trying to reach different audiences at different times that work for their lives. We hosted the 3rd annual District 5 garden show the weekend after Labor Day. We had over 700 people in the building over the course of 2 days looking at beautiful floral arrangement, horticulture exhibits that are graded as part of the garden club apparatus, I guess. We have a really cool event coming up in October, Saturday, October 14th. People have to register. We're calling it Professor Lolly's Library of Curiosities. Professor Lally is named after Bob Lally, who's our longest standing employee. He's worked here for over 40 years. He's a reference librarian. Everybody knows Bob Lally, but it's going to be like a haunted house with some jump scares. We have some really cool puppets made by Geppetto Studios, which is down on Broad Street. They have really cool looking stuff. There's going to be some macabre tales, and I think I might be playing the part of one of the characters, but you have to come and find out who I'm going to be.
You're right. Bob Lally is an institution here unto himself.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you still do people still, Bob being a reference librarian, I can remember calling him on deadline when I worked at the OD, and maybe you were 10 minutes away from deadline and quick you needed a date or you needed a street address or something, calling Bob and him getting it.
Yeah, I mean, Bob he's like an encyclopedia on his own, but he also has an encyclopedic knowledge of this building, our resources, the Uticana collection. He's still in high demand for his expert and quick research skills.
Yeah. Well, I used to, because he's very calm, but I used to always hesitate and tell him, well, I've only got 10 minutes, but he reacted. You said the Utica collection.
Yeah, so our genealogy and local history collection, we have a portion of it that we call Uticana, which is books about Utica history. And also we've kind of expanded it to include authors from Utica who may or may not be writing about things specific to Utica, but just another way to promote local authors, local history, local research that's essentially adjacent or tied right in with library work that we do. And I think you had asked about the books sitting behind me in this room.
Yeah.
They're some of the biggest titles that everybody who has a Utica history collection on their shelves, those books are part of them.
When somebody new comes to the community, they say, what kind of book should I read? One of the ones I tell them to read is Judge Welch and his vignettes, and I see that sitting up there.
Yeah, that's probably top of the list for this is the one you need to read to start
And
off
if
with.
I recall correctly, the Utica Public Library published that book itself.
Yeah, actually somebody, we were talking with somebody who wanted we have actually multiple copies of the raw manuscript before it got bound and published. So we do, that kind of stuff is in our archives. It's going to stay with us, but the community still has an interest in finding it.
And I think you did something, I'm trying to remember, with the Irish Cultural Center not too long ago, because he did another book, and it was Irish, I'm trying to think of the name of it.
Yeah, we did work with the Irish. We actually had an extra copy, and we essentially gave it to them so that they could use and have it in their collection as well. So that's part, when we can do that, we like to be able to share the resources we have. Sometimes you have stuff here so that you have the last copy remaining. But working with them, I mean, they have their mission, kind of like the History Center. We all want to make sure that people have access to this area's history wherever they may be. It doesn't have to just be here. It doesn't have to be OCHC or the Irish.
And I can almost see, I forget how long ago it was that he passed, but I can almost see him smiling at the thought of that book being down there.
Yeah,
as well as here.
And our old microfilm room was named after Judge Walsh. It's not the microfilm room anymore. Our microfilm is moving all over the building based on kind of space and other considerations. The amazing thing, people still want the original microfilm reels to do the research. The reality also is that not all of that stuff is available digitally. It's prohibitively expensive. But our microfilm reader printers, we actually had one downstairs. We decided we really need to have two in there because it gets so much use. We also had a generous anonymous donor who just bought a third brand new state-of-the-art microfilm reader scanner that's going to enhance our ability to do those research requests, which we get multiple daily. Somebody needs the box score from a game their grandfather pitched in 1945 for, Utica Free Academy or whatever it is. That stuff is constant.
When we come back, we'll talk about that digitalization of things, the process that's ongoing here. Chris Sagaas is our guest. We're at the Utica Public Library on Genesee Street. Short break, right back. And welcome back, everybody. Thanks for sticking with us. Chris Sagaas is our guest. He is the executive director of the Utica Public Library. He's been a part of Utica since, Chris, it goes back even before this building, the Utica Public Library. My memory of the history escapes me a little bit, but it started out as a private subscription library with 1,000 books or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. And that's how most public libraries started, was a group of people who had money and wanted to read and knew what reading was and what the great thinkers and writers of their time were doing. And then people realized that it was about a citizenry would be better if everybody had access to that type of material. So the library was chartered in 1893, so it certainly existed before this building, and then even there were multiple locations of Utica Public Library in addition to this building throughout the history of the organization. However, we are now the only location of the library in the city.
I know one time they had the East Utica branch of the library, and there's a branch in North Utica. The Proctors had a big say in all this, didn't they?
Yeah, the Proctors essentially donated the land. There were properties, there were buildings on this property, and the Proctors donated the land, essentially gave it to the city for the purpose of constructing the library. The famous painting we have of General Herkimer at the Battle of Oriskany was donated to the library by one of the Proctors, so that we've had it here in perpetuity. I mean, that name is just, it's all over Utica, and we're happy to know that it's part of our history.
Yeah,
as well.
I gotta just pause on that painting for a second, because those who are familiar with stamps, that's the painting that the stamp was taken from.
Yeah, and the library owns the rights to reproduce that. We have like the date of issue and other information about when that stamp actually was produced. We have that in our library's archives. So yeah, no, very, very cool.
Yeah, and those who aren't familiar with the painting, a great painting, it shows General Herkimer after he was wounded at you correct me if I go wrong here, after he was wounded at the Battle of Oriskany.
Yep, absolutely.
And he was still directing the troops.
Yep, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's not the only piece of art you have in here.
No, we have about almost $300,000 of appraised art. We have a really cool reproduction it's almost like on metal of the Gettysburg Address. We have a really cool fountain that is in our lobby downstairs. We have two paintings behind you, multiple artworks throughout the building. One of the things we want to do is have it like an art museum where there's information about the art, information about the artist. We also continue to host in our gallery and our former boardroom unique current artists exhibits. We have the Art Herkimer exhibit up in our gallery space right now, and then another local artist named John Mariani. He has an exhibit that just opened in our other space. So we want local artists to see us as a place to have people see their work. We've had a great exhibit this past summer called Women Painting Women. So it was 6 female artists who did portraits of a number of notable local women. The opening event for that, we had over 100 people. It was really great. And it was one of those things where people heard about it. The Stanley put it up on their marquee, and people were coming in saying, well, where's the Women Paint Women exhibit? So that stuff generates what you were talking about before, having people come in here. We want people to come in, see the space, recognize it as the asset that it is.
Speaking of people coming into the building, do you keep track of the number of people that come into the building? Yeah,
we have, so just as COVID hit in 2020, we were fortunate enough to receive some grant funding to reinvest and repurchase brand new gate counters, security systems. I've probably talked about this on your show in the past, but we overhauled our whole collection management. All of our books are RFID tagged now, so we know what's in the building, where it is. We know if it leaves without being checked out. It includes software that measures how many people come in and at what time they come in. This past summer, our summer reading was probably the most successful it's been since I've been here. And our door counts increased dramatically certainly over the last 9 months. Computer use, all of the other computer use, we have invested heavily in Wi-Fi access throughout this building. We also have invested with some donor help in Wi-Fi hotspots that extend either way from our building into the neighborhoods. So we can tell that people who live 2 blocks away from here are actually accessing the library's Wi-Fi network when the building's closed. So we see that as another thing we do for the community. You don't have to be open in this building for us to be able to provide access for people to come.
And you don't have to sit in the parking lot, I guess, either then, right?
Yeah, exactly, yeah. Although a lot of people do that too.
Do they?
So, yeah.
The digitization of your collection, where are you on that?
So right now, digitizing a lot of our resources would cost a lot of money. We have just started a process with my assistant director and some of our reference staff who are looking into what do we have, how much is it going to cost to keep it, how much is it going to cost to digitize it. So that's a process. We have so much stuff, and sometimes when you have a lot of stuff and you don't really know where to begin, but my assistant director has done a great job of leading some of our librarians through that process. We're making steps to figure out where we're going to be with digitizing. Until we do that, we still have the single most significant one place physical access to all the old Utica newspapers, not just the OD and the Daily Press, but ones, we actually, there was one reel, somebody was looking for a local history researcher, and we had every reel of I want to say it was the Oneida Whig. I think we had every reel but the one they needed to do the research. But my assistant director got it through interlibrary loan. It's here, and the researcher came in the other day to use it.
It's funny you mentioned the Whig, because I was on your website the other day, and I was looking at a lot of those old papers.
Yeah.
And one of the ones that I was looking at was the Oneida Whig. And you have the Observer, the Utica Observer, before it became the Observer Dispatch. Yeah. A whole bunch of newspapers.
Yeah, and we still provide online access. So the OD, most papers, they don't make microfilm anymore. So every microfilm reader we have is looking at stuff that is not available digitally currently. But we still have access to the OD digitally. We also now have access to the Daily Sentinel digitally. So we continue to provide 50% of the material budget, which is what we spend on stuff for people to use here or check out, is on digital electronic content.
We've only got 30 seconds before the break, but you also have the New York Times.
Sure. Utica Public Library card holders who have a Utica card can access cooking, games, news, the athletics, sports, all for free with a Utica Public Library card at their home or on site here. So
what does a library card cost?
It costs nothing. So
not a bad deal.
It's a great deal. Yeah, it saves over $25 a month for New York Times subscribers.
Yes. We're going to take a short break. Chris Sagaas is our guest. We're talking about the Utica Public Library, great resource for the community. Been around here a long time, going strong. Short break, right back. And welcome back, everybody. Thanks for sticking with us. Chris Sagaas, our guest. Chris, the executive director here at the Utica Public Library, and he's been in the job since 2017, came over here from Albany. You sound very happy here.
I'm ecstatic here. I mean, we do so much stuff here, and I have so many great people that do it. So I usually have to shut up from talking about how great my staff is, how fun it is to come into work and make a difference in this community.
Good for you. I think you just finished at a community survey. What was that all about?
So we're almost done with what's been about a year-long long-range plan process. New York State Division of Library Development requires us to have a long-range plan that involves community input. So we actually did a survey for a month. It was online, on paper. We're pretty happy with we got over 500 unique responses, which is pretty good for just a month. We also had a focus group at the end of the summer with about 8 to 10 community leaders. So it's been a process of asking people, what do they know about the library? What don't they know? What do they think the library should be? What do they think the library shouldn't be? And now our long-range plan committee is going to kind of craft a plan that will guide our work through the next 3 to 5 years. We're looking to the future. We want to continue to expand, continue to grow, continue to do what we've always done, but find new ways of meeting what our community wants.
The computers have really been a big change for not just this institution, but all institutions.
Oh yeah, I mean, especially because so much is available online now. Digital natives, people who grow up with digital stuff in their lives. That's a whole new user base for us. You and I are not digital natives. It was all new. We learned it as adults. But the expectations, people often have devices, but they don't often have the means to pay for access. So that's where we fill a big role.
Yeah,
as well.
that reminds me of something. You do a program, is it every Wednesday, where people who need tech help can come in?
Yep, we have a one-on-one tech lab. So one of our reference librarians, all of our reference librarians can do it, but you basically get a one-on-one, hey, I want to figure out how to FaceTime my grandkids, or I want to figure out how to get on Instagram. I need to change my password on my Facebook because it got hacked. How do I do that? So that's kind of stuff we help with.
Is there a charge for that?
There's no fee to people to come in and do that, and it's just, that's another thing. Computers changed that type of work that we do. We're about access to information and ways that people use tools to connect to other people in their lives. So whatever that means, we're here to help people.
Am I right? It's every Wednesday?
Yeah, I think it's every Wednesday from 2 to 4. Mm-hmm. I think. It's on our website.
Okay.
Which is a good fact checker for me.
Yeah, and it's a good website. There's a lot of good stuff on there.
Yeah, we have our social media and web presence. We try to rotate stuff. Some stuff stays there forever. We want to point people to our online resources that are constantly available. But we have a programming schedule that includes a lot of new stuff, book groups, book discussion groups. We also are out in the community a lot. We're at the farmers market in the summer, and then a number of other community events throughout the course of the year we'd like to have a presence at as well.
Do you know off the top of your head how many books are in this library?
Right at last catalog, I think we were around, I want to say it was about 65,000 titles. So I like to say we have a book for every Utican. We would love to have 65,000 library card holders, but we're not there yet.
And it's pretty easy, a couple minutes to get a card?
Yeah, very simple process. It's one of those things where you're going to spend less than 3 minutes getting your card, and then you're going to be able to walk out of here with books, DVDs, go home and access all of the resources, use a computer. And you don't need a card to access a lot of stuff. We work with people. If they don't have an ID on them to get the library card, we'll give them a visitor pass to use the computers. Our goal is getting people to that point where they can get the card and then open up a world of resources.
Again, off the top of your head, do you any feel for the number of clients that you served last year?
Yeah, as far as door count, I want to say we were in the 150,000 range. Circulation, I want to say it was, it's like 100,000 plus items moved in and out. At one point, I think we were doing like 20 items, I think 20 items an hour were going out of this building. We try to look at how busy we are. That dictates our staffing. I think I was telling you earlier too. We gave out an average of 5 cards a day last month. So 60 new people a month register for a library card.
Pretty good.
We're pretty busy.
Is a lot of that coming from people, Bosnian community, for example?
Yeah, certainly new arrivals to the country who are assimilating into Utica. Lots of kids, especially over the summer, kids who are at the age where they want to go to the library, their parents or caregivers want to make that a part of their daily routine in the summer. So the other thing, we just find that being an urban center that people are actually coming to, this is usually the first stop in their library access.
I've said this to people before, but it bears repeating. I've been fortunate to go around the country a lot in my life. And one of the things that I've found is that if a community, one of the first places you should look is the library, because if the community's got a good library, it's a good community.
Absolutely, and Utica is definitely one of those. So it's like I like to say, we don't take it for granted. It's hard work, but it's good work to work with our community and provide something that is essential.
Speaking of community, you've got one of your board members that's going to be honored upcoming. Yep,
Yvonne Irvin is on our board. She's also an Utica County legislator. She's going to be a Living Legend Hall of Fame honoree at the Utica County History Center dinner in a couple of weeks. The same night as our board meeting, so we're actually we're going to have our board meeting, and then I think almost the full board is going to go over to the Irish Cultural Center to celebrate that honor for her.
Is there something in the back of your mind, maybe you haven't even mentioned it to your board yet, a project that you'd like to get into here if you could, if you had the money, if you had the time?
Well, the board definitely knows this, and anybody I think who has ears and listens to me knows that we really need an ADA compliant elevator for the public to access this building. It's a significant financial burden. It's probably over $2 million, but anybody who wants to contribute to that project, it's something that we've identified as a big need. We would love to have, I'd love to talk to anybody who wants to contribute to that project.
Is there, perhaps we've only got about 30 seconds here, Chris, but is there any plan on going out for that?
So we're starting the first stage of a redesign of the rear of our building, the parking lot. We have a wall that we have to fix that's crumbling. We anticipate it'll be a multi-stage, multi-year project that will include a location for a new elevator shaftway.
Okay. Always good talking with you.
Thanks.
Always good being in this building, too.
I agree.
Okay. That's going to do it for us this week, but we'll be back next week. We'll do it all again. Don't forget cnyhomepage.com. There's a lot of good stuff there. Talk to you next week. Take care, everybody.